welcome to this meeting with the candidates who are running for the office of Tuckahoe Village Trustee. We're delighted that all 4 candidates are here, and we anticipate a lively and informative debate. My name is Louise Sellers. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Bronxville, which is sponsoring this event. You may know that the League also serves Tuckahoe, Eastchester, Mount Vernon, and Yonkers, along with Bronxville. The League of Women, many of you know, is a nonpartisan organization dedicated to the informed and active participation of citizens in their government. The League never supports candidates or political parties, nor does it accept financial support from them. In that spirit, this meeting will be conducted under strictly nonpartisan guidelines. I want to introduce you to 3 people who play a very big role in this afternoon's meeting. Moore, who is the chairman of our Voter Services Committee. Irma, stand up. She's the one who has done all of the organizing for this meeting. And sitting right here in the front is our timekeeper, Nancy Elkins. Both Nancy and Irma are members, very important members of our Bronxville League. And last but not least is Noreen Fisher, our moderator, is the person who will be in charge for the rest of the afternoon's meeting. She's from the Scarsdale League, and we welcome you, Noreen. If those people are important, you are just as important. Everyone present, everyone watching this program on cable TV is vital. Being informed matters. Listening to different points of view matters. Making wise choices matters. And voting matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're here today to hear the views of the candidates for trustee of the Village of Tuckahoe concerning Tuckahoe issues, and it's important that we give each candidate the ability to make the best use of the time allotted for this afternoon's program. I would first like to remind everyone that no campaign literature is allowed in this room. The ground rules for today's events are as follows. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for an opening statement. At the conclusion of the opening statements, the candidates will have up to 1.5 minutes to answer 2 questions that were prepared by the League of Bronxville. After that point, the debate will be open to questions from the audience with a 1.5 minute limit on responses. And then finally, each candidate will have the opportunity to present a 2-minute closing statement. Rebuttals, if any, are to be included in the closing remarks. The timekeeper will hold up, if you could just show them, Mrs. Elkins, a yellow sign to indicate 30 seconds remaining and a red sign when time is up. I ask the audience to please keep applause to a minimum, as it will be included as part of the speaker's time. The candidates have drawn lots for the order of speaking, and I would like to introduce the candidates before we begin. To my far right is Mr. Peter Costa, a Democrat running on the nonpartisan line. Next to him is Mr. Jeff Zuckerman, also a Democrat running on the nonpartisan line. To my immediate left is Mr. Stephen Ecklond, Republican and conservative, running on the Tuckahoe first line. And finally, Maria McHugh, a Republican and conservative, running on the Tuckahoe first line. I would like to then start with the opening statements, and Mr. Zuckerman, you are first. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. First, let me thank everyone for being here today. My name is Zuckerman. I teach high school mathematics and have done this for 24 years. I'm also president of the Bronxville Teachers Association and a member of our association's negotiating team. In addition, I spent a number of years running my own successful manufacturing business. I'm married to Claire Gorman, a graduate of Tuckahoe High School. We live in the same house that Claire grew up in. I have 2 grown sons. The most important thing to know about me is that my life has been one of service. When my children were younger, I was deeply involved in scouting and coaching. For 18 years, I took large groups of students on nursing home visitations. I serve as the treasurer and sit on the board of directors of the Bronx River Sound Shore Audubon Society. I began and have chaired for 12 years a committee which organizes and runs the single largest food drive in Westchester County. I was an active member of the Tuckahoe Centennial Committee, and I wrote a book that appears outside in the hall to honor that celebration. The book is titled Tuckahoe, The First 100 Years. I currently serve on the Village Planning Board, where we do site plan approval and architectural review of construction projects in the village. I've been an active and vocal member of that board for more than 2 years. It is my work on the planning board that allows me to see the changes needed in our zoning code, and I hope to be able to say more about that later. Our village needs to do more to expand community youth programs. We need to bring back our defunct citizen advisory committees. We need viable businesses to increase the charm and prosperity of our business districts. And most importantly, we need to let the people of Tuckahoe know that their village trustees are accessible and will listen to them. These 2 minutes allow little or no, but if you listen carefully this afternoon, I believe you're going to hear 2 entirely different levels of experience and familiarity with the issues facing our village. Pete and I represent many years of service to both Tuckahoe and other organizations. We will be active contributors to our board the minute we are elected. And although surely well-intentioned, I just don't believe our opponents can bring the same perspective to our village board.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zuckerman. Ms. McHugh, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Maria McHugh, and I am the Conservative, Republican, and Tuckahoe First candidate for the Tuckahoe Village Trustee. I wish to begin by recognizing the importance by applauding the League of Women Voters for actively participating in our elections. For the few people whom I have not yet spoken to, I would like to state why I should be entrusted with the welfare of our village. As a Tuckahoe Village Trustee, I will bring a completely unique perspective to the board that emphasizes my deep roots in this community, my professional experience, and my personal commitment and dedication to the board to make certain that residents' needs are responded to. It has been said that Tuckahoe is a unique and quaint hamlet in Lower Westchester. The Westchester County Chamber of Commerce magazine ranked us among the top 10 places to live. However, Tuckahoe for me is simply home. I have lived the better part of my life here. My family made an apartment on Street home for the first years of my life. This very village hall is where I attended the Assumption Grammar School. The new cultural center was once my library, and I received every sacrament with the exception of matrimony at the Assumption Church. Older people will often say, "I remember when." Well, I too remember when because I was here. And although deep roots in this community will help me to do this job well, it may require more than just memories of days gone by. I graduated Hofstra University with a business degree in marketing. I worked in management, operations, and marketing before leaving the workforce to raise my children. My experience taught me how to scrutinize a budget and how to facilitate and communicate effectively. As a marketing professional, I can help recruit new business to Tuckahoe, and I will promote events such as Tuckahoe Day, Columbus Day, and the Health Fair. I will enhance communication from the board to the residents so we are all aware of what is developing in our backyard. Our neighbors will be better informed because of my experience. Lastly, and perhaps most important, I don't come to you as a candidate with a political agenda. I offer myself simply as a child, daughter, and mother who made this community home. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Costa, you're next with 2 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. It was my pleasure to be your trustee for 6 years. I gained invaluable experience of how the village runs, and I know what it takes to be an effective trustee. When I was your trustee, I've implemented money savings, consolidation of materials and supplies in different village departments. The savings from this was passed on to the taxpayers. I was also the one to establish the Village Safety and Health Committee, which offered safety programs for village employees. If elected, I will strive to reestablish this and many other dormant village committees. I am proud of my work as chairperson of Tuckahoe Day, and that the money raised each year was shared with our seniors, Eastchester Community Action, EVAC, and the Tuckahoe Centennial Committee. As a parent of 2 young children, I have always been sensitive to the need for youth programs and activities. As a trustee, I created baseball nights, which I continue to help organize. For 5 years, I've secured free Mets, Yankees, and New York Liberty tickets for our children. If elected, I will continue to work to increase activities for Tuckahoe's youth. I will work with the director to expand our community center programs. This will be part of a greater effort to develop constructive programs where more of our children can use the community center for positive, socializing, and after-school programs. I will explore available grants and other non-tax dollars so these programs are affordable for all families. Jeff and I are running on the Democratic and nonpartisan lines. I truly believe we have the independent voices that will benefit the village. I strived to be an independent voice while I was on the board, and will continue if elected. I believe that the residents of Tuckahoe are our most valuable assets. I also believe party lines should not play a role in village government. In closing, if elected, I can promise you a bipartisan representative interested in the needs and ideas of all citizens, and will not only listen to the people of Tuckahoe, I will respond on what can be done and what more we can do. I will use my years of board, municipal, and union experience to consider issues based upon the facts and information, and I will vote my conscience. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ecklond, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Steve Ecklond. I first want to thank the League of Women Voters for allowing us this opportunity to introduce ourselves. I also want to thank the residents of Tuckahoe for coming out to listen to us on a Saturday afternoon. 2 months ago, I accepted our mayor's appointment to serve the residents of Tuckahoe as your trustee, and today I am asking you to let me serve you for another 2 years. Deep-rooted 4th-generation resident of Tuckahoe. My wife and I are raising our son in the same house which I grew up in, which has been in my family for many generations. My great-grandfather served as trustee in Tuckahoe way back in 1914, and I am so proud to be serving the village today in the same capacity in which he did 90 years ago. I own and operate a small successful business called the New York Ladder and Scaffolding Company. I have been in this business for over 25 years now, and I've worked in it from the ground up. As a small business owner, I will bring to the board the unique perspective of someone who has to make very difficult decisions on a daily basis. I personally handle all aspects of our company's finances, our legal and insurance matters, and our employees, as well as their benefit programs. I know firsthand what it takes to make payroll every week. I am very comfortable with and personally responsible for balancing all of the functions of a business with a large annual budget, which is basically what the village of Tuckahoe is. Tuckahoe is a business with an $8 million annual budget. Having served as chairman of the Tuckahoe Business Advisory Council, I know firsthand how important it is to develop and maintain a strong business base in our community. I've also served on the Tuckahoe Zoning Board, which has given me insight on how to balance the needs of development along with maintaining the character of our community. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and I'm looking forward to this debate.
Thank you. Okay. We will now move on to the 2 questions that have been prepared by the Bronxville League. The first one relates to the master plan and the zoning code. One of our community's challenges is to promote future growth that is consistent with the current character and quality of life we enjoy in Tuckahoe. Our master plan and zoning code are vital in managing future development. What areas of the master plan and the zoning code do you consider in most need of revision or updating, and what revisions do you feel would be most beneficial to the community? Mr. Costa, you have won the toss.
Thank you.
You're first. 1.5 minutes.
Thank you. I believe the master plan is outdated at this point. I believe we should be revisiting it and establish a citizen committee to start reviewing it. I also feel the residential area of the master plan is the key part that should be looked at. As you go around your neighborhood, you'll see that some very large houses going up on double lots. And I think that's the key part, and that would protect us in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Ecklond, if you could answer that question, please. A minute.
Sure. I actually brought the master plan today. This master plan is the master plan of the Village of Tuckahoe, and it was adopted and approved on October 3rd, 1994. So I do agree, this plan, which is 170 pages long and is now 10 years old, should be revisited. Specifically, what portion of this plan I would look to revisit, not actually sure that I have an opinion right now as to what portions, but I do believe that we should take another look at our master plan.
Thank you. Mr. Zuckerman.
I do want to agree that it's 10 years old, it needs revision, and the specific areas that I feel need revision in my tenure on the planning board, I've come face to face with the areas that need revision. The village board for the past 2 years to make those revisions. Unfortunately, those revisions have not been forthcoming, and be one of the first things I try to do when I get on the village board. The areas that need most improvement is in our zoning code. Barely a night goes by on our planning board when we're here right in these seats where we don't have a developer before us trying to put a two-family house where there was a one-family house in this village, and that house is always too large for that property. We need changes to the FAR, the floor to area ratio. We need changes to the lot coverage guidelines that we have. These are the kind of things that we need so desperately and that I've asked for 2 years. I have other proposals that I could make as far as the zoning goes, but that's the one that I feel I'd like to offer right now. Perhaps tonight I'll get a chance to say some others.
Thank you. Mrs. McHugh.
Well, I also agree that the master plan needs to be revamped, and I'm sorry that Mr. Zuckerman has not been able to get Chairman Chairmella's ear and have strong enough leadership to explain to her how necessary this is, because the master plan did, in fact, 10 years ago, revamp the plan of Main Street. We have now different height restrictions because of this master plan, and we also have different zoning codes. We used to be able to build on a 50 by 100 piece of parcel, and now that's different. Today, it's a 100 by 100 piece of parcel, and this is because of the master plan and the zoning code. The master plan also was instituted to create vitality on Main Street. It is both now residential, or zoned for both residential and business property. And I agree with Mr. Costa that we should have citizen community volunteer groups, and also with Mr. Zuckerman that it does need to be changed. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question prepared by the League. Would you support the hiring of a village administrator? Why or why not? Ms. McHugh, you're first.
Well, I think that I, at this moment, would need a little more research to see. I know that most counties, in most towns and villages in Westchester County do have an administrator, and I believe that at this moment, though, we have a very effective mayor, and for the last 10 years we had a very effective mayor, Phil White. Now it's Mayor Martino, and I just don't see how a village administrator can respond to the village, to the residents' needs. Now we always had a mayor who actually was a resident of Tuckahoe, and I think it's important to understand that the mayor sees things firsthand as a resident and has a certain amount of accountability because he does visit the stores and patronize the stores and see the residents on a day-to-day basis. And I think that he would be more apt to speak from his heart to respond to the residents' needs.
Thank you. Mr. Zuckerman.
Yeah, I don't think we need a village administrator right now. I have a strong sense that if we had a board that was completely responsive to this village, that we would not be in need of a village administrator. I think, unfortunately, right now, a lot of people have lost faith in the communication levels and in the listening powers of the board that we have in Tuckahoe. And I'd like to see a revitalization of a lot of the committees, a lot of the things that have gone on here before anyone ever felt there was a need perhaps for a village administrator. I could list at least 6 defunct citizen advisory committees that no longer exist in this village because of the fact that, and I would say that if a village administrator is not going to change that, what's going to change that is a very responsive board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ecklond.
Well, I would disagree with that. I believe that we have a tremendous spirit of volunteerism in the village of Tuckahoe. I think we would all love to have a village administrator, but quite frankly, we can't afford it. I'm working on the budget now. I think that every village and town who does not have a village administrator would certainly love to have the benefit of an individual like that. But in our tough economic times that we have today, and with the limited avenue of resources that the village of Tuckahoe has, we just simply cannot afford that. So we have to rely on the mayor and the village board to act, as well as our village clerk, to act in this capacity. And I, for one, think that we all do a very fine job.
Thank you. Mr. Costa?
Thank you. I'm very much in favor of a village administrator or manager. My last 2 years in office here, I promoted it, and unfortunately it went on deaf ears at the time. I feel that under the civil service rules that we have to comply with as a village and a municipality, you need a person as an administrator who can handle all the issues coming from the county on a day-to-day basis. I feel that we need a point person. Right now, the way it's set up here, everyone goes to the village clerk's office and puts the onus on them. I feel that you really need the administrator or a manager, depending on the title, to be the point person, follow the civil service rules, follow all the rules that the county, that we have to follow as a municipality. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now open the floor to questions from the audience. Let me go over how we will do this portion of the program. I've been asked to actually recognize people if you raise your hands if you want to ask a question, and if you could please go to the microphone in the front and ask the question. You must state your name and address. Questions must be brief, focus on issues, and not be of a personal or abusive nature. There will be no statements allowed. A question may be directed to one or more candidates, although all may choose to answer. Any candidate is also free to decline to answer any question, and candidates may not question each other. Questions directed to all will be answered by the candidates in a rotated manner directed by the moderator. A second question from any individual will not be accepted until everyone who wishes has had an opportunity to ask a first question. I reserve the right to rule on the appropriateness of all questions, and we will try to get all questions in, but we may be limited due to time constraints. Okay, I'll now start with the man in the second row.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. My name is Joe Molinari. I want to say it's good to be here. First of all, I grew up in Tuckahoe also. My mother.
Question, please, Mr.
My
Molinari.
question, just so you know, I'm a resident and lived here and graduated Tuckahoe High School, the whole deal. Okay, just so you know. For Ms. McHugh, I understand that you said in response to Mr. Zuckerman's SAT proposal that there were no free lunches, quote unquote, and what exactly did you...
Well, I think it was inappropriate for Mr. Zuckerman to say at the editorial review board that he was going to give free SAT classes because he actually made some of an educational sort a political agenda for himself, and I disagree with that. And I wonder what he really meant by a free SAT course when I think that the Tuckahoe School actually has such a thing. That's what I meant by no free lunches.
Does anyone, Mr. Ecklond, would you care to respond to that question as well? Or?
No.
Do I stay
Okay.
here?
Mr. Zuckerman? No, you can.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
And thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to respond. Okay, first of all, for the record, the Tuckahoe High School and East Chester High School definitely do not offer an SAT prep course free for every child in the village of Tuckahoe. There's no question about that. I've been to both schools. I checked with both guidance counselors, and they do not offer such a course. In fact, there is no course in Westchester, there's no school district in Westchester County that offers such a course because it can't be offered. Those of us involved in the education field know that there are no free time. There is no free time available for kids to take such a course. It just doesn't fit in their programs. So it's not the fault of anybody. I'm not putting anybody down. It's not the fault of the Tuckahoe School District or the Scarsdale School District or the White Plains School District or the Eastchester School District. It's inconceivable to fit kids into that program. So I offered a free course. That course is worth over $1,000 for every student that I offered it for. It will happen. Where is it written that we can't do something good for the citizens of Tuckahoe? Where is it written that people that hard-earned money can't be offered something for free? The schools cannot do that. Where is it written that we can't have a better place to live without increasing taxes? I mean, where is it written that people that are being offered something wonderful, it should be taken away from them? This is going to be a free course, just like Princeton Review and Kaplan courses give, and it will be given free of charge. It will be given around the community, in the community center and elsewhere. And I'll make one final statement here. If I don't offer this course because people think I can't do it, if I don't offer it, then I'll resign as village trustee. Okay? The minute I don't offer this course as a village
Thank you,
trustee,
Mr.
I will leave
Zuckerman.
office.
Mr. Costa, do you care to comment?
Yes, thank you. It is true what Jeff said. The Tuckahoe School District and Eastchester districts do not offer free SAT tutoring. As a parent of 2 children in the Tuckahoe district, I can confirm that. I also believe this is also the foundation for what I said in my opening statement, to give more programs at the community center. There are many funding sources out there that can help us with this. There are Westchester County funding sources, private funding sources, on and on. And so I believe that this is just an asset, something else we could give back, give to the children. They need it, they can use it. Why not give it to them? Thank you.
Sir, second row.
Good evening, John Debitetto, 70 Limekiln. This question's for Mr. Zuckerman. In your campaign literature, you promote the current board's agenda of low taxes, high services, of school liaison, zoning plan updates. How could you advocate against the existing board that you guys?
I didn't understand that question.
Well, how do you obviously you're saying their agenda is good. You're promoting it in your campaign literature. So how are you advocating against the current board that you also criticize?
Okay, I don't remember speaking directly to the board's agenda that they currently have. So your question about me advocating for the board's agenda at the same time I'm criticizing it is perplexing. Let me try to do my best here to make some sense out of the question. I don't remember advocating for the board's agenda. Some of the things the board does is great, okay? And I think there's great need for improvement. The single greatest place that's need for improvement is to have some bipartisanship up here. This board is going to become 100% Republican conservative if something doesn't happen in a week from Tuesday. And that stifles enthusiasm, it stifles volunteerism, as I've said before, it stifles fresh ideas, and it prevents real, live, honest-to-goodness debate. And I come to almost all the board meetings, I watch them on television, and I don't see honest-to-goodness debate and honest-to-goodness airing of ideas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ecklond, do you want to comment on that question?
Yes. I can say that Mr. Zuckerman doesn't see honest-to-goodness debate because the current board, of which I am a member, has been in agreement, and we actually do at our sessions just prior to each village board meeting, we actually do exchange, and I have witnessed some very good debates on some of the issues that we have had to make motions for. So I do not believe that bipartisanship is such a moving point that my opponents have made it over the last 2 months. I personally believe that I don't think that people are really that terribly concerned whether or not the guy who's out picking up their garbage is a Democrat or a Republican. It's more important that the people who to our village board can work together, and I can say for sure that there is a great team effort now on the current board.
Thank you. Mr. Costa?
Yes.
You want to comment?
Yes, please. I have to agree with Jeff that I feel that we are lacking some independent voices on the board. I also know, in response to something Mr. Ecklond just said, that they meet prior to the meetings and have debate. I feel those debates, if they are taking place, should be at the board meeting in public. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McHugh?
Well, I don't understand conflict for the sake of conflict. I think that I am not privy to what happens on the board or before the board or even at the meetings, staff meetings, but I am privy to what I see on television, and I see a united board, even though a Democrat has just stepped down. And that's because the people on this board have more than just a political agenda, which is really very, very necessary that we bring our own selves, our own experience, personal and business, and what we can do to help make Village of Tuckahoe the best place for our children to live, the best place for us to grow old in. And I think it takes guts and fortitude. I think it takes good character, honesty, and dedication to do this job well. I'm not sure that I agree with conflict just for the sake of conflict.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Good afternoon, Tracy Chavone, Tuckahoe. I'd like this for all of the candidates, nobody in particular. I'm wondering how you might have voted on two recent initiatives by the board, one which reduced televised meetings where village business is actually discussed, and another which is limited methods for obtaining public records. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Costa?
Thank you. Yes, I disagreed with the limitation of the meetings. It's once a month. They were always for many, many years. While I was on the board with Mayor White, it was two meetings aired a month and two staff meetings. We also had special meetings, and I also disagree highly with the FOIL limitations via hard copy or mail. I believe that you're restricting many people, some seniors, also people with disabilities, who do not have a way to get to the mailbox to drop their requests in the mail. And I just would like to see that change, to get more access to government here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ecklond?
Thank you. As trustee, I am going to continue to take a role in our monthly town hall meetings, which are not televised. I can say for a fact that the last meeting, and I'm not sure, Tracy, if you were at that one, I don't remember seeing you there, we had a great attendance. We had a tremendous amount of interaction from the residents over at Midland Avenue. And that was just one example of how having these town hall meetings are very, very effective. With respect to the modification of the manner in which information is received from the Village Hall, I really applaud the steps that were taken by the current administration. I have now seen firsthand how the village clerk and her limited staff are completely overwhelmed by an enormous quantity of information requests, which, quite frankly, are just overburdening, or just overwhelming for such a very tiny community as the Village of Tuckahoe.
Thank you. Ms. McHugh?
Thank you. I love the idea of the town hall meeting. I think it's a great forum for people who are maybe a little bit shy about coming to a microphone or being on television. Not everybody feels that comfort level, and this is a really nice area for neighborhoods to get together and issue their concerns, their complaints, their acknowledgement of the board, and basically ask the board what they can do to help them. And this is just a terrific forum. What needs to be applied, Tracy, is better communication so that you can be involved. If you did not know about the Midland Avenue meeting, you could not have attended.
Shh. Ma'am?
Okay. More importantly, I think the town hall meetings are specifically for the specific areas, and it's a really good concept, and maybe it could be honed to become a better concept so that everyone can appreciate it. Now, the situation with the FOIL, obviously not being a trustee, I can't comment on it, except to say that I would like to utilize our staff so that they can benefit all of our residents, not just a select few, but I don't think that the recent board has done anything wrong, and I think that if they had, they would have probably gotten some slack from New York State.
Mr. Zuckerman?
Yeah, thanks. I think the limitations on the TV meetings is a problem. 50% of the meetings that the Village of Tuckahoe residents can see have been cut out, 50%. And I was at that meeting over on Midland. It was so well attended because there was a very, very specific issue that applied to the people on Midland. It was about a barrier and was going to become permanent or be taken down. And 99% of the people at that meeting were related to that one particular issue. In that sense, it was a good meeting. Should have been had in addition to the 2 televised meetings, because that was a special, necessary meeting for that one particular topic. I really do lament the loss of 2 meetings on television, and I don't know why we have actually moved in that direction. Very few people attend, and this way people can see it at home what the business of government is. As far as the limitations on receiving requests for information, I also lament that loss. I don't think we should be limiting people. This is the 21st century, and if people can't email their requests, I don't understand that. So thanks.
The gentleman in the 4th row with the black shirt.
Good evening. I'm Alan Austin. I live on Oakland Avenue in Tuckahoe. Mr. Zuckerman, you have been, to quote you, an active and vocal member of the Democratic Party. Your wife is the chair of this Village Democratic Party. With such a partisan background, how can you, to quote Mr. Costa and yourself, be an independent voice on the village board?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I don't know where you said it. You saw it say that I was an active and vocal member of the Democratic Party. In my opening statement, I said I was an active and vocal member of the Village Planning Board. I did say that.
You are registered Democrat.
Yeah, sure. So I am definitely a Democrat. I'm running on the Democratic line. And I will be an independent voice because of the fact that any voice up here would be an independent voice. Any voice on this village board that would foster some kind of give and take and offer the citizens of Tuckahoe a real bipartisan look at things. And I don't just mean bipartisan in the sense of Democrats, Republicans. I mean bipartisan in the sense that there are other ideas out there. And when 5 people get together and they've all been nominated and support each other by the same party, then that tends to stifle discussion and new ideas. And we have real evidence of that, or we would have more people volunteering for committees. I want to go over one more time just some of the committees that are defunct: the Conservation Committee, the Recreation Committee, the Cable TV Committee, the Committee for People with Disabilities, the Housing Review Committee, and on and on and on. Just go outside, look at the bulletin board, and see all the committees that nobody sits on any longer. There was a time when people sat on these committees. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McHugh, do you care to comment?
Well, I do care to say something that Mr. Zuckerman just said. He said any voice will be an independent voice on this board, and I do agree with him. I really do think that it is more necessary at the village level in village politics, the village government. It is more important that you elect the person and not the political party onto this board. I don't see how, at this level, Democrat versus conservative versus Republican party can make any difference. And by the way, I am a conservative. I'm a registered conservative and have been since I am 18 years old, since I was 18 years old. I have never seen a road that was paved or made for a Republican person. I've never seen a light change faster for a Republican, a conservative, or a Democrat. I've never seen DPW skip a house because they are Democrat, Republican, or conservative. We are all serving the best interest, if elected, serving the village's best interest. And I do think that there may have been a conflict of interest that the head of the Democratic Party was campaigning on a day-to-day basis with Mr. Zuckerman.
Mr. Costa, do you care to comment?
Yes, please. So we clear it out right now. I am a conservative running on a Democratic line. I'm also on the bipartisan line. I believe that when I was an independent voice in my last year of office, that's what caused me not to receive the endorsement from the Republican Party in 2003. Unfortunately, that happened. I still believe my votes during my tenure in office. I believe I did the right thing, and now I was asked by the Democrats to run on their line. They endorsed me. I was glad to come on board and work towards the benefit of this village. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ecklond, do you care to respond?
I do, thank you. Just like in a small business, I don't believe there's really any room for political party grandstanding. Trustees have to work hard to get the job done, and we have to work hard with a very small pool of resources. So I don't see that political grandstanding really plays in the selection of a trustee for the Village of Tuckahoe.
Any other questions? Down the back of the room?
My name is Greg Luisi, resident of Almavilla Avenue, Tuckahoe. My question is directed to the Democratic candidates. Your platform advocates involvement with these children in our school, yet, Mr. Costa, several years ago, you voted to defeat the Tuckahoe school budget, and my question is, how do you reconcile these contrary opinions?
I don't believe I voted, I don't know how you know my voting record anyway, for the Tuckahoe schools. I was on the Tuckahoe Finance Committee, and I questioned some actions taken at that time when Ms. Logano was the finance director of the Tuckahoe schools. And as you know now, she's no longer with the Tuckahoe schools. I believe in the Tuckahoe schools. Dr. Izzulo and I have a very good relationship. We discuss things weekly. I try and assist them. When their football team needed assistance with shoes a couple of years ago, they tapped my shoulder and they got $2,000 in money for shoes. I'm always there to help them. What I disagreed on was a specific item during that budget period. Thank you.
Mr. Ecklond, do you care to respond to that question?
Yes, I'd like to say that I also contributed for those shoes, and I just
Remember
want
that, don't you?
I do. I just want to make reference to something that Mr. Zuckerman had said earlier, which was that when he made his pledge to give every student of the Tuckahoe High School a free SAT preparation course. I have said this to him before, and I'm going to say it again, that I actually take offense to that. Being a Tuckahoe resident, having gone to Eastchester Junior and Senior High School, where his plan would not have included me, and it certainly would not include my son. So he's gone on the record. I was there when he made that statement, and I was there also when he made the statement that he would not offer this course if he were not elected trustee. And I think, I don't want to speak for Ms. McHugh, but I kind of think that's what she might have meant when she said there are no free lunches. It's nice to go ahead and make a statement, but, let's see if we can follow through on that.
Mr. Zuckerman, you care to respond?
I just don't know what any of that had to do with the question that that gentleman asked, but I'll want to respond to all of it. First of all, I've never voted against the Tuckahoe school budget, which is what I thought the question that had been asked was. But now let's get back to this other thing. I've cleared this up so many times, and it is such a reach to continue to say the same thing. The reporter that took my statement, I said I want to give a free SAT course for every Tuckahoe High School student, and he capitalized the H and the S in high school, and it was Tuckahoe High School student. And I've now said it 30 times. It's been written by Mr. Malecki here. It's been cleared up 100 times. It's for every Tuckahoe student who lives in the village of Tuckahoe, and I don't know how many times we have to say it, and it's offensive to keep bringing it up. I don't know what else to say about that other than the fact that I am 100% committed to doing that, and I put this entire job on the line, and that's how I will tell you I'm going to do that job. I'm going to get the job done, and everybody is going to be able to sign up for this course the day after I'm elected. That's true.
Ms. McHugh?
Thank you. I actually believe that the Tuckahoe and high school teachers are very well aware of the SAT courses that the kids have to take at the beginning of their 12th grade. I think that these people are very experienced educators, and I believe that our students are getting the best possible education. Now, having said that, Mr. Costa, the reason why we know that you attended that school board meeting is because you actually missed this village board meeting, and you actually had a history of missing many village board meetings, and I think that is something that the residents need to hear, because how could you possibly commit your time and dedicate your time if you can't be present at the board meetings in which decisions are being made? Thank you.
In the back of the room, sir.
Hi, I'm Vito Catania, and I live in Tuckahoe. And my question is to Mr. Zuckerman particularly, but I'd like the other candidates to respond. And I think, Mr. Zuckerman, I agree with you that it's not school districts that go out and pay for students' SAT courses. But what I'd like to ask you is, you criticized volunteerism in the community. You said there are committees that nobody serves on. And if you're talking about giving a free SAT course to every student that lives in the village of Tuckahoe, why do you have to be elected trustee to do that? Why haven't you done that a year ago? And as a president of a union, possibly gotten some of your colleagues to do likewise so that you really can accomplish what you're doing? And secondly, why has this become a village election issue?
Thank you. Mr. Zuckerman?
Okay, I have a great answer for you, okay? The reason I haven't done it, and the reason I can't do it unless I'm elected, is because the people that are supporting me in doing this have made great promises to me, but they're not going to do it for the present administration. This is the same kind of stifling of volunteerism that's gone on, that is why we have all the defunct citizen advisory committees, and why my fellow running mate here, Mr. Costa, was asked not to run this year, because you have to have a certain party line to be on this village board. And the truth is that the people that are going to work with me, I can't do this alone. It's going to be a massive, you understand there's not a single, you're a school board member, are you not?
That's correct.
So you must know that there's not a single municipality or school district in the county of Westchester that offers what I'm offering.
That's correct.
Not one. Okay? So that's going to take some volunteerism. And the people that I'm asking to step up to the plate to do this are people that are following me, people that are looking for a fresh idea and a fresh voice, not people that are going to put me down for doing something that's not been done anywhere in the county. We're going to be famous for doing this, and there you are standing there and others over here trying to put this idea down. I want to hear the person stand up from this audience and tell me that they're going to get a free SAT course for $1,000 and come up here and say, I don't want that for my child. I'm waiting for that person to come up to the mic and tell me, please don't give me that $1,000. Keep it, Mr. Zuckerman. You keep it, because I can't afford an SAT class, but I don't want your money. And you know what? You're dead wrong.
Thank you. Ms. McHugh, do you care to comment?
I do care to comment, but I want to hear the question again, please.
The question was why Mr. Zuckerman was not undertaking his SAT course at the present time. Why does it have to wait until he becomes a trustee, and why is this a village election issue?
Yeah, I actually think it's sort of dangerous area to go into when you're talking about SATs and the village board. And just because my personal beliefs are as follows. Leave the educating to our high school teachers. They are doing a marvelous job. Tuckahoe School, the Tuckahoe High School in particular, is like going to parochial school. There are fewer kids at the Tuckahoe High School than there are at parochial schools that people are paying tens of thousands of dollars for their kids to attend. Eastchester High School has a fabulous record, and children go to Ivy League schools all the time. I think that in village government, what we really need to do is create businesses so that we can get increased property taxes, but also, in terms of children, ask business owners how our high school kids can learn, can benefit from their experience. Give them internships in the businesses in our local area. That's how they will learn. That is how we can increase and expand their minds.
Thank you. Mr. Costa?
Yes, thank you. I'm really not going to elaborate any more than what Jeff did on that. I want to respond to Mrs. McHugh's issues on my attendance. The one meeting I attended this village, the school board meeting, was not for a budget. It was for services that were taken away from my son. The second thing is that when they say my attendance record, during a certain period of time, I had a parent that was in Lawrence Hospital for almost 6 weeks, if not longer. There was many people that knew about this. I had contact with the village on a daily basis. I have emails, I have records of all my correspondence on a daily basis with the village board, with the village clerk. I was never taken out of the loop. A parent, I think, is a little more important, unfortunately, a family, than a village at that point. I'm sorry to say. I mean, my village, I was still in communication. I was on the phone with them. There was never a day that I was not in communication with this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ecklond?
Yes. I just want to say that I'm very glad that Mr. Zuckerman has clarified his position, that his Democratic supporters who want to basically buy his way into this office are using this promise to go ahead and do that.
Thank you. Sir, would you care to ask a question?
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Cacciola. I live at 65 Bella Vista Street in Tuckahoe. I don't know what day it was, but I saw an article in the paper where Mr. Zuckerman proposed to build a parking garage in the village of Tuckahoe, somewhere. I would like to know where that spot is, how much it would cost, and when would the village realize a profit on it? Because right now I think our tax bill is high enough without supporting parking.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Zuckerman?
Okay, there are a number of places in which some type of parking structure could be considered here. When I walk around the village, I think there's a decided lack of parking in this village. People come before me on the planning board, and parking is always an issue. It's always an issue for people that want to put up retail stores here. There are a number of places on Main Street in which the retail situation is not great right now.
Excuse me, that's not the question.
The question was where the parking garage would go, how much would it cost, and when would it become profitable?
Okay, so let me continue then. I was getting around to, there's two places I could see. The parking garage that's over on Lake and Main right now, I think the topography is great to go down a level so it would never be an eyesore. I also think on Oak Avenue, the topography there is good to go down a level, and again, it would not be an eyesore. And I think that this would, the main purpose the main reason I brought this up is so that we could increase business enterprise in this village. When we increase business enterprise in this village, it will actually keep the taxes low. As business enterprise goes up and those people pay more taxes and we receive more from the county in sales taxes, I'm actually proposing this as an idea that will keep our taxes low.
Mr. Ecklond?
Yes. First, I want to say that southern Westchester is a very dense area, and Tuckahoe is experiencing many of the same problems that other communities are experiencing in southern Westchester. We have some county roads that traverse right through our village, which brings an awful lot of traffic, and we have a tremendous amount of people who use our parking garages who actually do not live in the village of Tuckahoe, who come here just to take the train to New York City. Last month, I, along with the mayor and the other trustees, placed a $25,000 state and county grant request for a professional parking and traffic study. And I believe that we should be patient and wait to receive that funding and purchase that professional study to evaluate where and when and how we should address our parking problems. I don't profess to be a parking expert, and I don't think anyone at the dais here should.
Mr. Costa?
Yes, thank you. I agree with Jeff there with the two locations that he spoke about. Those are definitely two items, two areas. I also agree with Mr. Ecklund. It's nice to hear that the village board did go for grant money to get a study, because that's essential. You have to do a study before you go anywhere. The study will give you ideas of what you need, how many spots you need, and what the estimated costs will be in the future. Back when I was on the board, there was I'm not going to say a proposal, there was grant money from MTA to build a structure, because I remember Mayor White discussing that with the board at one time. So there are other monies out there that can be utilized.
Thank you. Mrs. McHugh?
Well, I'm going to take a common sense approach to this and add a couple of things. If you want to go under the ground, where are the people who are currently parking going to park in the meantime? Everyone knows that Tuckahoe is built basically on a quarry, and did you ever consider that the cost of cutting marble and going underground would be exorbitant? And at what point would we have a two-story parking garage? And on Oak Avenue, those poor residents would just not have a good day, any day, when they would have to deal with all of that deadlock. I don't think that's a good idea. We do live in a densely populated area. It is because we have such tremendous access to wonderful places. We have access to New York City in 15 minutes. We have access to Central Avenue, which is a great business area. We have access to Eastchester and to the Bronx River, to the Hutchinson River Parkway. We live in a hamlet, like I said before, in a quaint village. And my fear is that if we were to build a parking garage, whether it be a concrete structure or if we were to go underneath, that eventually, in order to sustain the economic downfall of that, we would actually end up having other residents from other areas come in and then create a bigger parking issue.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Ron Gallo, Underhill Street, Tuckahoe. Question for Mrs. Zuckerman. Jeff, you've made partisan politics one of the major planks in your campaign. My question is, isn't it hypocritical of you to criticize the Republican boards now and in the past, when it was those very boards that put partisanship aside and put you on the planning board and had selected Peter in the past to run with them? Don't you think that's conflicting statements?
No, I don't. But it's a good question, Ron, because I figured you might ask me something like that today. The answer to that question for me is that I actually do believe that the people that run this village want really, really hard-working, dedicated people to do the business of the village. And they pick me, and they pick some other people on the planning board, and we do the business of this village. But try to get to the top, try to get to the village board where real decisions are made, you know, such as what I've been asking for, to change the zoning code for 2 years, things that would absolutely enhance the quality of everyone's life in this village, and that you're not allowed on. So you're only allowed to you're only allowed to be a worker bee. You're allowed to work real hard on zoning or planning, but try to get elected, you know, and then it's not allowed. Let me read you something that the Journal News said, okay, in an op-ed editorial they said last week. They said it's, quote, irritating to perennially be told by Republican candidates in Tuckahoe that partisan politics don't matter. They recognize that year after year after year, when we go up there to try to get their endorsement, which I received, as you know,
That's right.
they found it irritating that year after year after year, people like my opponent show up and say, oh, partisan politics don't matter. But of course it matters, because it's all Republican here. And that's got to change. And the sooner it changes, the sooner we'll have an open airing of ideas. I just want to say something about the partisan politics. I sat right out there where you're all sitting last year for this debate. And you know what the Republicans said? We're going to do a study on parking. And the year before, I sat out there, and they said, we're going to do a study on parking. So here we go. We're going to do a study on parking. And we'll all come here next year, and you'll be saying, we're going to do a study on parking. I remember exactly who said it and when it was said, and you go check the tapes. We're always going to do a study. And that's what happens when there's no discussion.
Mrs. McHugh, do you care to?
I want to commend Jeff's experience and his time that he puts in on the planning board. My husband was the chairman of the planning board after serving on it for some time, and I do know that it is very time-consuming. I'm sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought.
That's all right.
That's all right, it happens.
Please just tell me the question.
Mr. Zuckerman was asked about putting aside partisanship.
Right.
And yet he...
Jeff, I agree that you're sitting out in the audience and that prime location where everyone can see you every week. It's just wonderful to see you there. But honestly, I don't understand how being a Democrat, how PJ changed the board. I want to know how you are going to change the board.
No, we're not asking questions.
I'm sorry, a rhetorical question. I just don't understand how a Democrat, you're telling me that you're coming with a political agenda, that if you're a Democrat and you're going to sit on this board, that your agenda is political, and I think that that does not behoove the residents, all 6,500 residents. It just does not behoove everybody to sit here and say, I am a Democrat and I have democratic values, when in fact, the values are shared by 65+ hundred people here.
Mr. Costa?
Yes, I'll answer. Not strictly on the partisanship issue, but to give an example, is when the Crestwood Streetscape was taking place the first year, myself and the board at the time, we had discussions. They wanted to go forward with the Crestwood Streetscape, and I asked to table it to have a community meeting on it. Felt I wasn't secure with the design of it at the time. The entire village board was invited to the Crestwood meeting. Unfortunately, only myself and Mr. Denning arrived at that meeting. It was well attended, and out of that meeting, thank goodness, many changes took place on that. And it served, and I was criticized for having that. I was criticized for saying no on that, but yet it turned out well, and I think that's a good example. Thank you.
Mr. Ecklond?
Yes, I'd just like to say to Mr. Zuckerman, While I appreciate that the Journal News and the Review Press have acknowledged my talents and have also endorsed me in their newspaper, that newspaper endorsements don't elect trustees. The residents of the Village of Tuckahoe do. When it comes to bipartisan committees, I have to say that I think that the current administration has done a fantastic job in appointing people of bipartisan nature to a lot of the committees that we currently have in Tuckahoe. We have many of these, and I think it's really unfair to go ahead and just slam the people who do all the volunteer work now, myself included, who are working on some of these committees, to not give them the proper recognition that they're entitled to. And Mr. Costa, I would like to tell you that I actually did attend that meeting that you mentioned on the Crestwood Streetscape. And I have been working for the last 2 months diligently on trying to complete that Crestwood project. And it's received an awful lot of support from the community.
Sir, and then you. Behind, right there.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Paul Landis. I live at 50 Columbus Avenue. My question is, isn't it now kind of obvious that there would be a downside to an all-Republican board? Because we have seen 2 independent Democrats saying they would want 2 board meetings a month and have them televised, and you are saying you think that's a bad idea and they shouldn't be televised.
Okay. Mr. Ecklond?
I'm not saying that not having the second meeting, which there are still 2 meetings per month, that not having the second meeting is good or bad. I'm saying that I believe that the intent of having the town board meeting, the second meeting of the month, to have it be performed at a regional location within the Village of Tuckahoe and to not have it televised is actually a benefit to the residents of Tuckahoe, to the residents who do not come down here because they might be intimidated by being on camera. So I think that you might look at it one way, but I might look at it the opposite way.
Mr. Costa?
As far as the town meetings, I think that it's a good effort, don't get me wrong. I think, but also, unfortunately, it's not advertised enough that many people, residents in the village, do not have cable. So they don't know when those meetings are taking place at this time. And that's the issue as far as I'm concerned, is that people don't know that meeting's taking place. It's not televised after. Even if it was, if you don't have cable TV, you wouldn't be able to review it.
My question was the board meetings. Did I misstate it?
I'm sorry.
There used to be 2 board meetings a month,
Board meetings.
and there's now 1, and I understand they're not televised.
No, one is
There is one,
One.
and there is
And the
one,
second
and it's
meeting is a board
televised. The
meeting.
second meeting
And it's not televised.
is not
Right, that's
televised,
correct.
it's a town
Right.
hall meeting.
That's right.
Okay, and my turn?
sorry.
Go ahead, you can go.
Okay, my turn. My feeling is that there should be 2 televised meetings, and if the board wants to have another satellite meeting, not televised, in a particular, town hall kind of situation, that ought to be a 3rd meeting. That's what I would suggest.
Ms. McHugh?
I like the idea of the town meeting. I think it serves all of us, and it serves us well. Maybe it does need to be communicated better so that different neighborhoods, and we can do that through neighborhood associations. But I do think it serves a purpose. Not everybody feels comfortable coming to the Village Hall. And also, we see the same 5 people in Village Hall every single month. This actually brings the board into the areas, and we can see firsthand. Someone can say to us, look at the damage to this sidewalk. You would not be able to say that at a village board meeting. You just can't do that. We are a very personal, small, hometown community, and I don't think there's any benefit to having 2 board meetings here when the board and the mayor cannot see things firsthand. I like the idea.
There was a gentleman in the back that had his hand raised. Come forward.
How you doing, folks? Dan Lang, 23 Oak Avenue. Quick question for Mr. Costa. While trustee, you supported the elimination of the Tuckahoe Highway Department. I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on that and why.
I never supported the elimination of the Tuckahoe, the DPW. I wanted to explore if consolidation with the town would be an asset, would be of any value to the village residents. The board at that time, we decided not to go forward with any type of consultant to look into it, and it never happened after that.
Does Ms. McHugh, you want to comment or not?
I think that we enjoy superb services in the Village of Tuckahoe, and I would like to keep autonomy here. I think that we can share resources. We can share an assessor or town planner, maybe. We can share procurement and paving and state funding. But I think I'd like to keep DPW to Tuckahoe. I enjoy the 5-day pickup, and it's a stellar service, and I appreciate it.
Mr. Zuckerman, do you want to comment?
No, I think services here are great, and I'm always for exploring new ideas. So I wasn't there at the time, but if I'm elected, we're going to explore all sorts of new ideas. Absolutely.
Mr. Ecklond.
Yes, I am a strong advocate of sharing services, but not consolidating services. I think that although, as Ms. McHugh has stated, we already do share the services with Eastchester of sharing a tax assessor. I know we share a paving contract, and there is some other highway equipment that we actually will share and borrow between each other. And I think we should explore trying to do some of these same type services with the Village of Bronxville. But I can say that it has been told to me firsthand by walking door to door over the last 2 months and knocking on everyone's door in the Village of Tuckahoe that the residents of Tuckahoe do not want the town of Eastchester to take over and consolidate the highway department, our sanitation department, our police department. That has been told to me loud and clear, and I support the interests of the residents of the Village of Tuckahoe.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? If not, then we will move on to the closing. Oh, okay.
I am Gerald Shirley from Sagamore Road. I'm a tenant, and I speak on behalf of all of tenants in Tuckahoe, a financially endangered species. My question is first for Mrs. McHugh, and then I will ask Mr. Ecklond. What is your position on rent control? Do you favor it or oppose it? And if you oppose it, please explain why you believe that Tuckahoe's tenants should continue to be deprived of the protection against landlord price gouging, harassment, and abuse, that protection that is offered by the New York State Emergency Tenant Protection Act, and which all of our fellow tenants in all of the neighboring surrounding communities have had since 1983.
Thank you, Mr. Shirley. Mrs. McHugh?
Thank you, Mr. Shirley. I actually missed you. I didn't see you in the audience, and I was hoping that you were going to come today, because I want to tell you that I really appreciate the fact that you have this cause and are tenacious about it, and I really do appreciate that. I am not completely aware of the findings that Mrs. Barnes has or may not have completed yet, but I promise that if I am on this board, that I will look and research myself to see if this is policy that we should adopt. But I also want to say to you that you understand that we have not heard, going door to door, that this is something that the residents are completely vying for. And it might be dangerous to adapt policy because one person is an advocate for it. However, saying that, I will promise to look at Mrs. Barnes' research and see if this is something that we should consider. Thank you.
Will you also promise at board meetings, if I ask you a question, that you will respond to me rather than obeying the mayor's dictum? That
I
you should
promise
not?
to respond to the best of my ability, always.
Thank you. How about you, Mr. Ecklund?
Again, thank you for coming down here tonight, Mr. Shirley. And I'm going to answer your question since you're speaking on behalf of all of the tenants in the Village of Tuckahoe. It's my understanding that under a prior administration, our village had removed ourselves from adopting the provisions under ETPA. I'm not saying that I know whether that was a right move or a wrong move, but I am committed, just as Mrs. McHugh is, to sitting down with Ingrid Barnes, who our mayor has recently appointed to address tenant and landlord issues in the Village of Tuckahoe, and sitting down with her and talking to her as she is discussing with yourself and the rest of the tenants in the Village of Tuckahoe tenant and landlord issues. So, and I as well will address all of the questions that you pose while I am now and will continue to be a trustee in the Village of Tuckahoe.
Mr. Zuckerman, do you care to respond?
Yeah, Mr. Shirley, I would say that when we look into this, if there's something good for Tuckahoe Village residents, if it's good for those 200 people that are in these 200 apartments you refer to all the time, then I'm for it. Okay? There's nothing that's gonna be good for village residents that I won't support.
Mr. Costa?
And once again, I have to mimic Jeff. If it's something good for everyone here in the village, for those people that are affected by that, then we have to look into it and adopt things.
Well, that's very good to hear, because...
Mr. Sherry, I'm going to have to ask you
Okay.
to... Shirley, you're not allowed to make a second question unless there is no one else in the audience who cares to ask a question.
All right.
Are we...
Is there anybody else coming?
I can
Is there anybody else?
Okay, Mr. Shirley, you may have the last question, because we can only entertain one more question from the audience.
Well, actually, I have asked my questions, so I'll just ask Mr. Ecklond, are you willing to sit down with me and Mrs. Barnes?
Oh, absolutely.
Fine, please set it up.
Certainly. I certainly will.
Okay. Now we will take closing statements. Each candidate has 2 minutes for their closing statements, and we will go in the reverse order from the opening statements. So the first closing statement will be Mr. Ecklond.
Thank you very much. As I stated earlier, I personally handle the finances of my own business, and I will work with the current board to balance the books of the village just like I do my own. I will work to keep our property taxes as low as possible, and at the same time maintain the high level of services that we currently all enjoy. I will deliver to the board a mature and strong voice and opinion. I understand the importance of listening to the concerns of our residents and acting responsibly to these concerns in a manner which is in the best interest of all of the residents of Tuckahoe. I've reached a point in my career where I can devote the time that is needed to satisfy the requirements of role of trustee. I am devoted to my family, and I am also devoted to making sure that Tuckahoe remains the safe, quiet little village that it always has been. Having had the opportunity to travel to nearly every state in our great country, I am so proud of the fact that I live in a community where people genuinely care about their neighbors, one that is virtually crime-free, and all this comes within 15 minutes of the greatest cultural city in the world. I'm asking you to support me and Maria McHugh next Tuesday because I believe that together, along with the current board, we can and will continue to make Tuckahoe the best-kept secret in New York.
Thank you. Mr. Costa?
Thank you. I wish to thank all the attendees in the audience and also the League of Women Voters. When Jennifer and I brought our family here over 11 years ago, we found a community that cares. We care about our neighbors, our homes, our parks, and especially our most valuable assets, our children. As trustee, all decisions are based on what is in the best interest of our village. This is most important, and I know it is what I strive for in my previous tenure, and I know I will continue when elected. I promise to listen to all residents at all times. I will never close you out. I will do my best to enhance the village and its programs as discussed throughout this program. Jennifer, Peter, Ryan, and I plan to stay here for a long time. I have a true interest to make things better here in Tuckahoe. I'm not a true politician, if you haven't seen that. I'm a working guy trying to give something back, who will use any and all resources available to accomplish that. Please vote for Jeff Zuckerman and myself Tuesday, March 16th. Every vote counts. Thank you.
Mrs. McHugh?
Thank you. I am honored to be here today to share with you my reasons for wanting to be the village trustee and to tell you why I believe you should vote for me. I do not come to the table with a political agenda. My agenda is simple. I want to serve you, and I am genuinely committed to making Tuckahoe an even better place to live. I bring a distinct perspective to the village board. As a mother, as the head of my household, and as a lifelong member of this community, I am uniquely qualified to work with the current board. I was very fortunate to grow up here and enjoy all that Tuckahoe has to offer. I simply want to give back to my community all that I received. I have a first-hand appreciation of the need to maintain an attractive environment in Tuckahoe so that, like me, future generations can continue to call Tuckahoe home. I will accomplish these goals by listening and learning and responding to the needs of the people. That is what public service is all about, and that is why I'm committed to doing it. As many of you are aware, I want to reach out to the community and encourage establishment of neighborhood associations. These groups give you, the residents of Tuckahoe, a direct voice to express and address issues of concern. They provide a direct vehicle for you to become personally involved and invested in your community. As a lifelong member of this community, I am also acutely aware of the need to preserve the traditions which have become Tuckahoe's trademark. Maintaining a positive economic environment that keeps our taxes low while still delivering the top-rate services we all enjoy and have come to expect must be a top priority. And like many of you, when my husband and I purchased our first home here in Tuckahoe, it was not easy financially, not at all. We made tough choices, we scrutinized every decision, and we maximized every dollar. Now, as the head of my household, I am forced to make both daily and long-term financial decisions every day. I look forward to effectively applying my degree in business, my professional experience, working in the private sector, and my personal experience to the village budget. I am fortunate to be a stay-at-home mother. My children all attend school, and I have the time, the energy, and the commitment and dedication to serve you capably and effectively. Thank you so much. On March 16th, please remember the McHugh Ecklond team.
Thank you. Mr. Zuckerman?
Thank you. It's up to the voters now to take what they've heard this afternoon and ask themselves, first, which candidates are the most knowledgeable and capable of adding the greatest strength to our village board? Second, how do we get a balance of viewpoints and not just a single party line? Because those who religiously attend or watch the village board meetings rarely witness an authentic airing of viewpoints on television. We need more of that. I will offer an authentic alternative to the status quo. We need some independent thinking and voices to ensure new ideas. We need to feel confident that the trustees running our village have served on boards before and have made the decisions vital to the health of those organizations that they serve on. Finally, voters need to feel that the candidates have real and specific issues to bring to the table. Just one day after this election, I will have proposals ready for zoning code changes. I will gladly post my address, phone number, and email address for any Tuckahoe resident to call or email me or simply knock on my door. I hope that this openness will lead people to want to rejoin all of our citizen committees that have laid dormant for so many years. Plans will immediately be put into place for the free SAT course I have promised, and families can begin to register their sophomores for next year's courses. I will volunteer to head either the master plan or parking commissions in order for this vital work to move forward and not just be talked about from election to election. I will offer specific proposals to foster new business activity which will keep all of our taxes in check. The good citizens of Tuckahoe need to feel that their views are both needed and wanted in this small and beautiful village we all live in. Above all else, I promise to find new ways to receive that input. Our village government has moved so far away from government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and it will take new faces and fresh ideas to return us to that ideal.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to thank the candidates here this afternoon for Tuckahoe Village Trustee for attending today's forum. This debate that those of you here in the audience have heard will be replayed tonight through next Monday at 8 o'clock in the evening, also Sunday through Friday at noon, and next weekend at 9 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m., all on Government Access Channel 75. The times will be listed at www.tuckahoe.com. And finally, I encourage everyone here today or watching this program on cable to vote on Tuesday, March 16th. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Thank you all and good day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.